Welcome to PCMC Pop Culture Man Children. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Bongiorno. I'm here today with my good friend and yours, Mr. Peter Robert Christopher Marsh. How are you?
It's good. It's Peter Robert Charles Marsh.
Robert Charles Marsh. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
Today, me and Peter are talking about He-Man and She-Ra, The Secret of the Sword from 1985. So we've done a lot of He-Man on the show. Me and Peter did an episode on at least 3, right? Because we did the Netflix series, the Kevin Smith series, and then we did the other Netflix series, the one aimed at younger kids, the CG series. And then we did the film from 1987, the Dolph Lundgren movie. And PCMC, I did an episode of She-Ra Princesses of Power really early on. And then on your show, Comic Books Transformed, we did the second season of the Netflix show. So we've done a lot of He-Man on the show.
Absolutely.
So He-Man and She-Ra Secret of the Sword is an animated film. It was actually the first theatrically released Masters of the Universe movie. It comes out 2 years before the live action film. And it is essentially the first 5 episodes of She-Ra edited together to make a film.
Yeah.
Had you ever seen this?
Yeah, I must have at some point because there were parts that were definitely familiar, but then it also feels familiar to watching She-Ra and the Princesses of Power too. Beginning of that Netflix show and this one, they feel very similar.
Right, it's the same story of Adora realizing she's living in a fascist nightmare, and it's just that one doesn't have He-Man in it.
Yes. And maybe for the better.
Yes. I've said this before, I will say it again, I will die on this hill. Of the entire Masters of the Universe franchise, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power from Netflix that was showrun by N.D. Stevenson is the best entry in Masters Universe. And I love Masters Universe. It's the best thing. I just rewatched it all because they took it off Netflix. So it's currently kind of hard to find because they only put the first, I think, 2 seasons on DVD. So it hasn't found another home yet. But yeah, that's the best thing. Absolutely. I think that's the best thing.
Do you use Plex at all or no?
No.
So Plex is interesting because it has like live streaming channels on it. And there's a Transformers channel that essentially just plays all the different Transformers cartoons, of which there's many. And I mean, there's like a Farscape channel. There's channels for like random shows. There's a Bob Ross channel, and like just 24 hours a day, it's playing shows. I wonder if there's a He-Man channel on there.
Interesting.
And it's free.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's like Tubi kind of thing.
Kind of. Yeah.
So one of the inspirations for doing this was you and I recently did the 1986 Transformers the movie, which was an animated movie. And there was a time, believe it or not, where Saturday morning cartoons, they started just making kind of cheap movies. There was there's Transformers, there was a Care Bears movie, there was, I think, a Rainbow Bright movie. There was a bunch of them.
G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe, yes. So the quality of the Transformers movie is way better than this because that was a bespoke movie. That was genuinely, they were making new stuff. This really is just the beginning of She-Ra made into a movie. So here's the thing that people don't realize, which is He-Man and She-Ra they were both syndicated series. So they weren't seasons. There's like 100 and something episodes of He-Man, and they were all made at once. And depending on where you lived, you may have seen it in a different channel at a different time because it was syndicated.
Yes.
And then when He-Man ended, they did She-Ra. People remember them being on simultaneously because, like I said, they were syndicated, so often they would package He-Man episodes with She-Ra episodes. But in fact, He-Man was made in entirety, then ended, then She-Ra was made in entirety. And this is the first 5 episodes of the She-Ra and the Princess of Power show made into a film. So there's things about this that I think are really good. There's things about this that I think are really bad. I had not seen this since I was a kid. And I gotta say, part of me was a little bit dreading, like, what if this is just a complete shit the bed? What if this is just awful? We'll just have to come on here and make fun of it. But it has pacing problems because it's clearly episodes cut together. So pacing is its biggest problem, but the story's not bad. There's interesting ideas in it. Some of the animation's really good. I actually ended up liking it more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah. I kind of felt the same exact way. I was like, I knew that it didn't have that quality of the Transformers, the movie 1986, but to me, it just made me think about Princesses of Power, which I loved like so much.
Yeah.
So like to see the like original incarnations of the characters that they used in Princesses of Power, and like to see what they were originally like and how much they changed them for Princesses of Power.
Oh yeah.
That unto itself was the enjoyable experience of like, oh, it's so cool how they modified these characters, how they made them more modern.
Well, look at like Catra. Like I was watching Catra and I was like, Catra became like one of my favorite characters in animation. She's up there with like Zuko from Last Airbender, like as like a villain who's like deep. And it's like she came from just a character that's just like meow and like is just like her holy thing is she's a cat. And then she goes this incredible character later on.
Right. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned her specifically because my kids are, or they were, into Monster High, right? Which is sort of like in their generation's version of like what we are talking about right now.
Yeah.
And the characters in that show and stuff are like, there's a character like Catra who in the original She-Ra talks like that, like meow, like every time she talks, and it's just so cheesy and it just seems so lazy. But back then, when this was made, this was just kind of standard fare, right? Like it was just basically like we're making toys to sell the kids, and so this is advertising for those toys.
Yes.
I think that this movie feels more like the commercial and more like the episode of Saturday morning cartoon than the Transformers the movie, because that feels more like, even though they knew they were making a commercial, they wanted to give it more depth.
Yes.
And I promise I'm not a whole episode of me talking about how much better the Transformers is than this, but it's just sort of like what you come to expect. Like it does just feel like a He-Man episode, or She-Ra episode.
They didn't really go for it the way Transformers did. Right. They didn't take the opportunity to really go for it.
Right.
So something I want to mention before we get into it is so the credited creator of He-Man is Roger Sweet. And I have complicated feelings about Roger Sweet, which I could get to in a minute. But I do want to say that Roger Sweet is he is very, very sick with cancer. And his wife has started a GoFundMe to cover his medical bills. And so if you like He-Man, please go and give to that. We could also talk about how broken America is, that this man who created one of the most popular things in pop culture that is about to, in a few months, be another major motion picture, he can't even pay his hospital bills.
Yeah.
That's really disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the Toys That Made Us episode on He-Man, they do the numbers at one point, and they talk about how successful He-Man was.
Yeah.
And how much money the toys made. And to think that the creator needs to have a GoFundMe to pay his medical bills, that is a testament to our country. I don't know, if he wasted his money on frivolous things, but it's probably just because the cost of the treatment is so expensive. Yeah. It's very similar to like when James Van Der Beek died recently, and his family had to do a GoFundMe as well.
Incredible. So I said I had complicated feelings about him. I don't dislike him. Here's the problem. There is an argument between him and Mark Taylor, who Mark Taylor, in my eyes, I see him more as the creator of He-Man. But the perfect metaphor for nerds, if you don't know this, would be Roger Sweet is to Bob Kane as Mark Taylor is to Bill Finger.
Okay, I like that comparison.
Roger Sweet came up with the name He-Man and the idea of a barbarian character.
Okay.
Castle Grayskull, the way he looked, all the other characters, all the aesthetic of He-Man, that's all Mark Taylor. And he's also gone. He passed away, I think, 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But it's not cool that Roger Sweet fucking can't. I mean, this country sucks. Anyway,
Yeah.
She-Ra, the credited creators of She-Ra are Larry DiTillo and Michael J. Straczynski, who is known from like he did Babylon 5, and then he's done a lot of sci-fi and fantasy animated stuff and live action stuff.
Yeah.
In some ways, you might say that She-Ra almost has a little bit more integrity than He-Man, only because He-Man, the characters were created first as toys and then the series, whereas Mattel did have the idea we want to make like He-Man for girls.
Yeah.
But they allowed Filmation, the animation studio who made the cartoon, they allowed them to just put it together. So
Okay.
there's more genuine artistry that came into the crafting of She-Ra's world. And there's things about She-Ra's world that I like more than He-Man's world. But then there are some things that I think, well, there are some obvious things that are lifted right out of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
The idea that He-Man had a twin sibling that he had no idea about and we're only learning about now.
Right.
It's not only stupid, it's a major retcon. At one point, the sorceress says, "Oh, I brainwashed everybody. I put a spell on everybody so they'd forget about that the Horde came to our planet and started a war." It's okay, sure.
Right.
Because Skeletor, did she put it on Skeletor? Why? How come during all of the times where He-Man was with Skeletor didn't like taunt him and be like, you've got a sister.
Right.
But anyway, I think the thing that I like about her world more is that it's, again, a little bit more like Star Wars. The bad guys have won. Whereas He-Man, it's this sort of like this war between the good guys and the bad guys. And there's Skeletor and his rogues gallery, and then there's He-Man and his heroes. But in She-Ra, like most of the planet she's on has been completely taken over by the evil Horde, and they're the rulers. She lives in fascism, and her group is a rebellion, which I think is cooler in a way.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole thing about 1980s cartoons, right? Is that you have sort of the standard formula where like the bad guy has a plan and then they challenge the good guys and the good guys defeat them and then that's the end of the episode, right? Whether it's Cobra Commander and G.I. Joe or whether it's the Autobots and the Decepticons.
Yeah.
But it's always sort of a level playing field where the heroes are as powerful as the villains and the world is at stake, but the villains might potentially win. J. Michael Straczynski, what's really interesting about him, right? Because I love Babylon 5. Did you ever watch Babylon 5?
No, I can't say I have.
Yeah, I mean,
he's also, by the way, this is just a weird piece of trivia. He is the executor of Harlan Ellison's estate.
Okay. Wow, that is random. I didn't even know they knew each other, but it makes sense. I mean, Harlan Ellison wrote episodes of Babylon 5 too, so that makes sense. But like the thing that's interesting about Babylon 5, and maybe that kind of will lend itself to our discussion, is that like he planned out that show for 5 seasons. So the show itself was they had an arc for 5 seasons, and that was going to be the end of it. So it's like one of those first examples of like episodic television where it's a serial versus like a serialized thing versus just like a one-off adventure every episode, right? And even into Babylon 5 built in this stuff where if they knew an actor might leave the show, they had a makeshift, like already good to go reason in the story to have that character leave, right? So it's like a contingency plan. So he's quite a talented writer. For him to be a co-creator of She-Ra, that kind of blows my mind. That actually makes me more excited. He worked on the show called Captain Power. Do you remember that? That was the one where like you could watch the show with your toys and
yes.
Right. And like
that was directed by the guy who directed the Master Universe movie, Captain Power.
There you go, man. Fucking full circle, right? So I mean, like that did happen in a couple of 80s cartoons where like the bad guys had essentially won and then like maybe the good guys were like fleeing to Earth.
Yeah.
Because often it's like characters coming to Earth and then being there, just like the Transformers.
Yeah.
But like that must be like a direct reaction to Star Wars, you know? But She-Ra,
Yeah.
and this also goes on in She-Ra Princess of Power. It's absolutely like a rebellion against this force, and they identify as rebels, in this movie that we're watching.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cool. And they get a lot out of it in the Netflix series.
Yeah,
I should say
so
the all right, so the movie begins with this song, right? It's called I Have the Power. It's an absolute banger. I
yeah,
love it. The
yes,
the the lyrics are by Erica Scheimer, who's the daughter of Lou Scheimer, the executive producer of all this. He's the creator of Filmation. And then
yeah.
the music is by Suki Levy and Hans Saban, who then later
Oh,
on went on to produce Power Rangers.
oh shit. Okay.
But it's like it uses it's like got a female vocal and a male vocal. They're supposed to be He-Man and She-Ra,
Yeah,
and they say I have the power. It's awesome. There's
yeah.
actually one episode of the She-Ra, the Netflix She-Ra show that we love, that ends with it in the credits.
Oh, that's
Because there's a fun episode for old people like us where they're all like it's basically like the Community Dungeons and Dragons episode. It's the characters are sitting around coming up with like strategies of how they're gonna like do this mission, and you
yeah,
keep seeing like in their imaginations of what things look like, and one looks like a film noir, and one looks like this or that. One of them, it looks like the original She-Ra, and so it's just. And I remember they actually showed it at Comic-Con that year, that clip. So it's like all the original like designs, well, not the character designs, but like their costumes and stuff. And during the credits of that episode, they play the "I Have the Power" song.
oh,
Um,
that's fantastic.
so for a long time, He-Man and She-Ra, they have not been under the same roof. Like even though there was a She-Ra show on Netflix and a He-Man show on Netflix, they couldn't cross over because the She-Ra show was produced by DreamWorks, and they own the rights, and He-Man, the rights were owned by I'm not sure who, maybe Netflix. And Netflix just released the She-Ra show, so they couldn't cross over. But now they both He-Man and She-Ra are again owned by the same entity, which is MGM Amazon. And
Oh,
I would I would say I would bet all my money on the post-credit scene of the new Masters of the Universe movie will be a
yeah.
reference to She-Ra. Well, first of all, there's been set leaks of Bo and Glimmer in the new He-Man movie.
Oh shit, that's awesome. Okay.
So there are She-Ra characters in the movie. But okay, so getting back to this movie, that's one of the other interesting things, which is He-Man was this prince, and he like gets a magic sword. It's a lot like Shazam. He goes from this wimpy guy to He-Man, even though he looks exactly the same. She-Ra
Right.
is a bad guy. She's been raised in the evil horde. She doesn't know that they're evil, and He-Man is like, go out and see what they really do. And again, this is much better. They explore this much better in the Netflix She-Ra show, because in this there's like a magical spell over her that keeps her from seeing the truth. Whereas
Yeah.
in the Netflix show, it's just growing up in propaganda. She just
Right.
it's when she goes out, and like there's a great scene in the pilot of that She-Ra show, which we're gonna talk about a lot, I guess, where
Yeah.
she meets Glimmer and she's like, oh my god, like she thinks she's a terrorist and she's scared of her, and she's like, she realizes she shouldn't be scared of them, and like they grow to be friends. Um, in same, so it's the same idea here. So She-Ra is a force captain. Well, her name is Adora. His name is Adam. Her name is Adora. She's a force captain. She comes in like kind of after the like maybe 15, 20 minutes into the movie. We first see her like as a shadow, then we see her and she's like kind of the boss. And one of the other villains refers to her as like Hordak's favorite.
Yeah.
And Hordak is the main villain here, and he is kind of a cyborg, but he also looks like a vampire. He's got
Yeah.
vampire teeth, and he's got like the horde symbol is bats.
Yeah.
And something I just learned yesterday was Hordak is voiced by an actor named George DeCenzio, and he played Lorraine's father in Back to the Future. So if
Oh,
you
okay.
remember Lorraine's father, he hits Marty with the
Yeah.
car, and then he's like he's futzing with the TV when they're
Right.
watching
Right.
honeymooners. That's Hordak.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's a nice little note. I never knew that. That's awesome. I mean, I
Yeah.
actually love Hordak. I love Hordak in the Princess of Power show. I love him in this version too. His voice, I mean, you talk about the voice actor, I think his voice is great. It's not
Mm-hmm.
this sort of like ominous, evil voice. He's got this sort of baritone to him. He's different from Skeletor because Skeletor's got that nasally kind of wimpy voice.
Yeah.
Uh, that he fucking like he kind of transforms. He's like a transformer in ways, you know,
Yeah.
like his limbs change. Yeah,
his arm turns into a laser cannon, which is awesome.
right.
And he could turn into like a rocket. It's a lot of fun. And also, again, on more like Star Wars, there are Horde soldiers, which are like these robots that are everywhere, like stormtroopers,
Right.
which is something Skeletor didn't have.
Right. And what's also interesting too is that like it's sort of retconning things because it's making it like, oh no, he's more powerful than Skeletor. Like Skeletor answers to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like
yeah,
he's the mentor of Skeletor. You know, and they talk about their relationship in this movie because essentially they sort of betray each other in the past, and then they come together to form an alliance to get She-Ra back.
yeah. At one point, they showed a flashback where He-Man and She-Ra, they're both babies in like a little crib, and then Hordak and Skeletor like sneak into the window, like they're
Yeah.
climbing in your window, hide your kids, hide your wife. He-Man,
Right.
Skeletor and Hordak climb, and they get She-Ra, but then Man at Arms attacks them, and they don't have time to get He-Man, so they run away with She-Ra, and they say that they searched for her, but they couldn't find her. Something that I totally forgot before I saw this was I always thought that Eternia, where He-Man lives, and Etheria, where She-Ra lives, are two different planets, but they're two different dimensions.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. Yeah.
I don't want to go through the whole movie, but just some of the big like blips. Like it begins with the sorceress, who's the kind of bird like woman who is like the main mage in Master Universe. She's having a dream about Adora, and her power sword just sort of appears, and like she follows, and her sword looks exactly like He-Man's, but it has a gem in the middle of it.
Right.
And she follows it to some door in Castle Grayskull, and it like zaps the door, and it becomes like a dimensional portal. So she calls He-Man and says, like, you have to go through there and take the sword and find who owns the sword. And he goes, and he goes into the world, and he sees that it's being run by this evil horde. He meets Bo first, who is couldn't be more of a reference to Strider from Lord of the Rings. Bo, they go to a bar, and he's just sitting there with like a hood in a corner.
Yep.
Bo is She-Ra's the main male character in She-Ra. He has like a heart. He has like a 6-pack of abs, and then and you can see his abs, and then he's got like a heart on his outfit. And his name is Bo. His thing is he like shoots bows and arrows and stuff.
Yes, and his interaction with He-Man is like so homoerotic.
Oh God, ambiguously gay duo.
Mike, you know, it's fucking weird because 2 times in this episode, you literally said the fucking thing I'm about to say. Like, I was just about to say ambiguously gay duo. That's the two of them on the horse.
Oh yeah.
When they first team up.
Yeah, I mean if you ever saw the SNL sketch ambiguously gay duo, it's kind of making fun of stuff like this. Yeah, there's a tension between them.
If we could have a little fun and make our references too, like, can we talk about the fucking witch that is allied with the rebels? Like,
yes.
what's her
name? Madame Razz.
Madame Razz, right. So, like, she is just basically a woman from Staten Island. Right? Like, just the way she talks, she's got like a fucking Staten Island accent, right? Like,
yes, that's true. Yeah. She's basically a female Orko.
Yeah, exactly. Is she supposed to be from the same species?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things in here where you could see they were working from the note female He-Man.
Right.
Like even her planet has like two aesthetics. One is the natural aesthetic, which is very pink and pastel, and it's clearly like, you know, quote unquote girly planet, right? A planet that's supposed to like speak to the young female viewer. But then there's the Fright Zone, which I think looks fucking awesome. First of all, it looks like H.R. Geiger. It looks like and also we were talking about Lynch last week. It looks like fucking Eraserhead. It's like all machinery, and they really lean into the idea of like this is this beautiful natural planet, and the Horde comes and turns it into like industrial nightmare. So like
Right.
the fright zone where the Horde live and where Hordak lives is like it's like all like I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you ever seen like a power plant, like here in New York, when you go from New York into New Jersey, there are like power plants over there, and it's very. I remember being a little kid and being like, didn't understand what it was because it looks like a weird city. It kind of looks like that. Like it's just like machinery. Even the buildings all look like machines. Everything, but because they're so intricate, they almost look organic in how inorganic they are. Which reminds me of H.R. Geiger, who did like, most famously like the alien from Aliens, but his work is like a kind of like cyborgian like that.
Yes. Can I make a totally unrelated random?
Yeah.
I think you might find this entertaining, but you know how like last week we were talking about how boredom is essential to creativity. Like that was the thing we were talking about at the very end of the video. So speaking of boredom, George R.R. Martin, when he was a kid, he would be so bored that where he would be in New Jersey, he would look across the Raritan Bay and see Staten Island, and that was what he imagined Westeros to be. He'd be looking at the shore where the conference house is.
Wow.
And he was picturing Westeros. I thought you would, of all people, would appreciate that.
Well, we do have a lot of incest here.
Yes, there you go. Yes. So I know that's not related. Yeah, but J. Michael Straczynski and George R. R. Martin, they're kind of from the same time, and George R. R. Martin wrote episodes of shows too and stuff. So that's how we can bring it back. Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
it's that sci-fi fantasy world.
Yeah. But just to kind of go back to what you were talking about, like I felt the most cinematic looking moment in this movie because the movie itself looks so just like a regular episode of He-Man or She-Ra. The most cinematic moment was when they went to the Fright Zone.
Yes.
And I think they were in a ship, like Hordak's ship, and it like pulled up and landed, and I was like, oh, that kind of looks like a movie there.
Yes, I agree. That's the best looking stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so we haven't talked about the aesthetic too much, or we just talked about the aesthetic, but we haven't talked about like the animation. So I want to talk a little bit about it.
Sure.
So Filmation, who made this show, and they also made the Ghostbusters, not the real Ghostbusters, but the Ghostbusters, like with the gorilla, and some other shows. They did a lot of limited animation, meaning they would cut corners everywhere they could.
Mm-hmm.
They also did a lot of rotoscoping, meaning you film real people like a regular movie, and then you paint over them. So there's a lot of moments in this show and both He-Man and She-Ra where they're moving in a way that looks kind of almost uncannily realistic, and it's because it's rotoscoped.
Uh-huh.
There's actually you could see that there was like a method. Because they reuse shots like crazy. They have every character running from left to right and right to left, and then also running sort of diagonally towards the camera.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen that meme of Skeletor being like, "Till we meet again," like that's him running away.
Right.
And also He-Man punching at the camera, which is in the opening of the He-Man show, but it's also happens like 5 times in this movie.
Right.
But that being said, I'm sorry.
No.
That being said, the designs are really interesting. The landscape looks really lush. It looks very painted, like watercolors. What makes Masters of the Universe as a IP? Well, I sound gross saying IP. As a story interesting is all of its colorful, crazy characters. Like,
yes.
It's very colorful. It's beautiful to look at. It is limited animation, but it makes up for where there's not a lot of animation with really good looking images. Even like there are some shots which you could tell they rotoscoped where like it's like a low angle shot. So it's like it's towards the ground looking up at He-Man, which is like not something you see a lot in animation because it's a complicated image to render. So like there are moments where things look a little but then there are moments, especially like single moments where you're like, wow, that looks great. Like to me, maybe it's just because of my age. Anytime I see He-Man astride Battle Cat, I think that looks awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Battle Cat is actually really good in this movie too. He like because
Yes.
He-Man gets captured at one point, and Battle Cat like the whole like second half of the movie is like we gotta get fucking He-Man. Like what are we doing? Let's go
Yeah.
get him. But no, I mean yeah, they would save the really cool stuff for the opening credits of these shows, right? But this movie has a couple of moments like that. I mean, I want to go back to what you're saying about the characters, and I think that
Yeah.
what kind of ties in with this is that this is not really a genre that is that big now, nor I don't know if it ever really has been that big ever, where it's like sword and sorcery, but then it also has like high tech futuristic stuff too. Like that's what makes Eternia and Etheria different.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I know you can make the argument that Star Wars has sword and sorcery, but it absolutely leans more towards sci-fi.
Right. Like in this, like the regular common people, like it looks like medieval times.
Right, exactly. And so, like, that unto itself, you get to make all these characters, these creatures that, like, they don't make sense in a practical level. Like, in a
Yeah.
science fiction show or something, they'd be like, oh, these characters are robots that were mass produced for this army. Or, like, we did these experiments on these people and we made these things, right? And if it was just straight up fantasy, it'd be like, those are the orcs that come from this place. But you have, like, these things that are, like, part robotic, part
Yeah.
animal, and it's not like there's like a whole army of one type. You just have these weird like handpicked
Well,
bad guys
that's the
and good
action
guys.
figure mentality, right? Like
Right.
like every figure should look different. That's why, people talk about like Batman, but like He-Man has a pretty fucking good rogues gallery. They
Yes.
all look different. And like here too, you've got what's his name? What's his name? Is it Manatee? No, Mantenna is like that bug guy whose like eyes pop out.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yes.
And then there's Leech, who like he has like hands that are like round. They look like he looks like one of those like wind up monkeys.
Right.
And he'll
Yes.
like I guess he's like rogue a little bit. Like he'll touch you with his hands and then he can suck your power out.
Right.
The real I guess issue I would say with the She-Ra characters are almost all of the female characters are just like perfect, well,
Yeah.
perfect in the eye of the beholder. Like they're just like total model sheet female, like
Yeah.
small waist, big boobs, very
Yeah.
white person features.
Yeah.
Like in the later She-Ra series, like people are short and tall and overweight and whatever. And in this, like basically they all look the same because if you look at the She-Ra toys, they're very much trying to do Barbie.
Yeah.
It's like they're magical Barbies. Like even
Yes.
when the toys came out, the She-Ra toy line was only the heroes except for Catra. All of Hordak and the rest of the villains were all under the Masters of the Universe toy line.
Yes. So that in itself is a worthy discussion point, right? Because I can't remember the Toys That Made Us episode specifically in detail. I should have watched it to do this recording. But my impression just from watching this and what you just said is that they just basically wanted to make a girl He-Man, and it's like She-Ra could essentially just be a guy.
Yeah.
And like the modern She-Ra cartoon, there's a sense of femininity there, and like in the 80s there would be a different sense of femininity than what we have in the
Yes.
modern day,
Sure.
where they would think, like, I would assume that in the 80s like She-Ra would be like, oh, I want this guy to like me, and that would be like a whole episode of like her trying to get the guy to like her, and like maybe like there'd be like superficial things like she wants to like find some kind of makeup or something like that. All these sort of like what men think women think about.
Yes,
But
yes, exactly.
but what's interesting about this, at least this movie, is that She-Ra is not feminine in that sense.
No,
Like
no.
She-Ra is the leader of, she's Force Captain Adora, and she doesn't really do anything feminine in that regard.
Yes, that's true. It is a little bit of like 1980s Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley kind of. Like, yes, she's a badass, but also fits into like the male gaze standard of like what we would say is like a hot babe.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like, it would be a better character. But
And,
yeah,
and like the two best parts of this movie involve She-Ra transforming. There's the
yeah,
first time that she transforms, and then there's the second time where her and He-Man transform simultaneously, and
yes,
it's like a duet where they're
yeah.
both like saying their lot. That's those are the two best parts of this movie by a mile.
Well,
You know?
that made me think about how like formulas, like kids shows, especially back then, were very formulaic. So
Yeah.
you would be waiting for stuff to happen, and like you're kind of like, all right, when's he gonna become He-Man? And then like it
Right.
happens, and you hear the music, and it just satisfies you.
Right. Right.
So it happens a few times in this movie.
Right.
Um,
And She-Ra, her. I'm sorry for I keep talking over you, but like She-Ra has her own song that plays just like He-Man's song plays.
and her
You
song's
know,
great.
She-Ra, you
Yeah,
know,
it's awesome.
yeah, so good, so good.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that time. At one point, He-Man is captured, and Hordak has this machine that's like a kind of giant, like transport. It like will transport the whole city into the wherever. So,
Yeah,
and I gotta say, this is stupid, but it's also like good for them for trying something because it is an interesting idea for a kid show.
yeah,
The to power the machine, it powers off the willpower of people, so they enslave people. So they take slaves that are like rebellious and they put them in this like glass box, and it sucks out, they call it their willpower, but it sucks out their ability to fight fascism.
right.
In real life we call that machine Facebook.
Oh, I was gonna say Instagram. You set the joke up. I was gonna throw it in, but yeah, that's good. That's good.
So then Hordak gets He-Man and puts him in it, and it's like really powering up the sheet because He-Man's so powerful, but he's like dying. And
Right.
then Odora, she at this point she's like kind of seen the light, but then like they put a spell on her again, and she's kind of like back and forth, and she sees He-Man suffering, and then her sword starts like talking to her, and the sorceress through the gem is like, he's your brother and this is your destiny and blah blah. And that's when she transforms for the first time and she saves him, and it's a pretty cool moment.
Oh, it's so good. It's like it takes you right back to when you were a kid, you know, and like the two of them, like once they're powered up, they just make short work of the bad guys. Like it's funny because the bad guys, even though they've taken over the world, don't really seem that intimidating. Like once again,
Yeah,
that's a way that the Princesses of Power show is superior, you know, and it's just a testament to its time. Is
yeah,
that the heroes are supposed to be able to defeat the bad guys, but you know they're not intimidating, and the two of them together are just it's just like, oh, these guys are fucked. But it's funny because like you'll see the actual plans of the bad guys, and I thought the willpower machine was pretty inspired, and it was cool that like He-Man was the source of it.
yeah,
But then um when it comes to the time when Skeletor is recruited to like kidnap She-Ra,
yeah.
like his fucking plan is like ridiculous. You
He
know?
turns into like an old Italian man.
Yeah, yeah. And he turns the other henchman into like a little Italian man too. It's like a
Really for
little
no reason. There's very little reason.
right, right. It's like, you know, Skeletor's supposed to be this intimidating force. It's so weird that we hold Skeletor in like the same regard as like Megatron and Cobra Commander. You know, like I think it really is based on aesthetic. Like
Yes.
Skeletor is entertaining, but he's not like scary at all.
No, no. No, no. I mean, Frank Langella's Skeletor really brought it into a different place of him being. First of all, he's not really out there fighting. He's like ruling, and
Right.
he's like he made him much more. I should say something that I don't know if I've ever said on the show before, which is, I was born in 1983. Um, the reason why, first of all, I would all the He-Man toys in my house were my older brothers. I had
Okay.
She-Ra toys, and I had He-Man toys from the movie, and I loved the movie. The truth is that He-Man is a Gen X thing, not a millennial thing. And the reason why I love She-Ra and the reason why I love the movie is because I really came later. I kind of missed He-Man. I was
Yeah.
too little.
Yeah.
I had no He-Man toys of my own except for the few figures that came from the movie.
I could say the same. Well, I mean, honestly, though, when I think back to the cartoons I watched as a kid, I know I definitely watched Transformers a lot, but I think I actually watched He-Man more. It's just that Transformers excited me more,
Yeah,
right? Like aesthetically, like the Transformers just looked cooler. And I like the fact that they're like robots from outer space, and just the individual characters were more exciting to me. But I think I watched He-Man more because you said it was in syndication. I just remember just watching it like every single
It was
day.
always yeah, it was around a
Yeah,
lot.
and I did have a lot of He-Man toys when I was a kid. I mean, I'm only a year older than you, but I guess like that year made a difference.
Yeah, I think it
And
does. You know, those age. Yeah, like
but
my for me, He-Man is the movie. Like, and it's interesting.
yeah,
Like OG He-Man fans hate
yeah.
the 1987 movie, but I love it.
No. The He-Man movie is like the Transformers the movie where it's like, oh no, this is like darker and
Yeah,
more serious. It's more epic, there's stakes.
yeah.
Whereas this movie is not like that at all.
All right, going back to femininity,
Yeah.
Glimmer is just soaking wet for He-Man. The minute she sees He-Man, she wants to fuck him so
Yeah.
bad. One of my favorite things about He-Man is when he does strongman things, like breaks through a whole wall or picks up a mountain. Like he does shit like that. And at one point, there's like a prison, and he like knocks the prison over. And Glimmer is like sliding out of her chair. She's so excited for He-Man.
Yeah. But what's cool about Glimmer and Bo, it's like all the stuff that is in the modern show is in this. Like Glimmer's mom is
Queen
what the
and
hell?
Angela.
Yeah,
Angela.
Angela, and she's in this movie too. She's
Yeah.
like kidnapped. It's kind of similar to what happens in the modern show
Yeah.
too. I was like,
More than I
oh,
remembered, because like
right,
Shadow Weaver is a big part of the new show, as
yeah,
like she raised Catra and Adora. And in this, at one point, Shadow Weaver says, like, I'm like a mother to you. And I
yeah,
was like, wow, like there was more there
right,
than I mean, I could talk for days. I really think the She-Ra show is one of the best examples of taking one of these old
yep,
ideas and really like getting the best out of it and turning it into
yeah.
something really amazing.
I love coming on here and talking about this world with you. And I don't know if you have more points that you want to make, but like one thing I think that we should discuss is like this upcoming He-Man movie and like what do we want from it? What are we kind of expecting? Do you think that's worthy of talking about?
Yes, I think that is. So, gosh, I gotta say my expectations are I'm keeping them low. I have to make them low. First of all, we should say that the Masters of the Universe movie has been in production hell for like 30 years. I
Yeah.
remember being in high school talking about like when they like John Woo was supposed to make a very like it's been in production hell forever and it's finally happening. The trailer, it looked like too much CGI to me. I'm worried about the CGI. I'm worried about the look.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about the fact that it looks like He-Man spends time on Earth. I know a lot of people are because people don't like that there's so much Earth in the original movie. I, as long as like he leaves Earth and comes to Eternia and the rest of the movies on Eternia, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with making it a He-Man origin because you don't really see that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I am worried about how Skeletor looks.
Mm-hmm.
He looks good, but at the same time, he looks like he could have been created by AI.
Jesus. Yeah.
And, you know, Jared Leto is playing him, and he's not good at acting. So,
Right. Yeah. And I
I'm
kind of wonder. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, like I
No.
guess that's a good example to like compare it to is the Superman movie. I really liked that trailer, and I had high hopes, and it kind of reached my hopes. This for me, like I'm kind of going into it, kind of like, if it's just okay, I'll be happy.
Yeah. No, I know. Like, I was going to ask you before I even provide my own answers to the question I pitched. I'm going to give you another question. Do you feel like there's ever been a franchise that we loved as kids that if you look back, you're kind of like, oh, it's not as good as I remember it. And then it comes back in some kind of film way and people like it causes a resurgence. Have you ever really seen that to where like there's a movie and then all of a sudden a new generation is into this thing that we were into as passionately? Have you ever seen that?
Honestly, I think it happens all the time. But I think a lot of fans are gatekeepers and they see the past through rose-colored glasses. Like just today, I went to see Alamo Drafthouse was showing Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze, which is not a great movie. I loved it as a kid. Loved it. I remember seeing it opening night with my cousins, and it was like, oh my god, a new Ninja Turtles movie, and it's not great. the most recent Ninja Turtles movie was much better. But I think if you catch like a typical millennial, they'll be like, "Oh, the new one sucks, or it's woke, or they ruining my childhood, whatever." I think
Yeah.
a lot of times these things get better.
Right. Yes. Yes. You're talking about the quality, though. You're saying
Yeah.
like the quality gets better. I'm saying, does a movie come by and like capture that excitement and like reignite the fan base to
Oh,
where,
as a movie.
yeah, because I see toys from that Ninja Turtle movie on the shelves, and I'm assuming that kids buy them, and I'm assuming that kids watch that movie and enjoy it. But like, does it restart the love of the franchise?
I don't have a good answer for that, and I'd like to
I,
hear your take on it. But I do want to say that the world you and I grew up with is kind of dying. Like I just saw a statistic that said in 2025 only 53% of Americans went to the movies, which like breaks my heart because going to the movies is maybe my favorite thing to do in the world,
yeah,
and Gen Z doesn't go to the movies. They don't like the movies. Movies, when you and I were kids, the movies was like on the totem pole of media. Like movies was the top thing.
yeah,
So when a TV show became a movie, it was like, oh my god, this is a movie.
right,
That's not the way anymore, and
right.
and it's kind of it freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I that's horrifying news, honestly. But I've seen things that reference that as well. My take on it, I do kind of feel like there has to be like a thing can't like truly go dormant for like decades and then come back. I don't think it can. Like I think the best example might be The Force Awakens. Like I do think that there are kids now
Hmm.
that love Star Wars that because they watched The Force Awakens and because of that excitement
Well,
about that,
I
they
don't
got
know
into
if it
Star.
ever was truly dormant. Star Wars is so big.
Right, right, exactly. Because like you could say that the story of Star Wars continued with the expanded universe, and then the people like us still enjoyed that. And but like the love of Star Wars movies never really diminished. Star Wars was
Yeah.
always an event. But then I would say that like with the Michael Bay Transformers movies, I
Mhm.
think that that sort of introduced Transformers to younger generations.
Yeah.
And I think that like the pool of people that can appreciate this and be fans of this kind of stuff, that pool is shrinking just like the number of people that go to the movies is shrinking
Yeah.
just because the world is changing. It's like they're more into video games and stuff now. So I think that for the smaller the pool, it's they've been able to tap into it though and get people into Transformers, get people into Star Wars. I like with comics, they're just kind of always ongoing. I think that like having Batman Begins come out, that sort of brought people back. But like you
Yeah.
can make the same argument with
But
Star
Batman
Wars.
never really went away.
Batman never really went away either. So
Well,
I
well,
think that
I I think something that can happen and has happened a little bit is stuff down the line away from us, next generation. Like I remember I was teaching a class. This was a college class, like
yeah,
smart kids. And when the trailer for the Dora the Explorer movie came out, one of my male students was like, he was excited the way like I'm excited for this He-Man movie. And
yeah,
he
yeah,
and I couldn't, I could easily from a distance go like, why would this grown man care? But it's because he liked it as a kid.
right,
So
right.
like, like you just talked before about Monster High. Like maybe one day there'll be a Monster High serious gritty Netflix series or something. Like that shit's gonna start to happen.
1000% agree with you. I do think that actually Netflix plays a part in this as well because
Yeah.
I think one of the best examples is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And
Yeah.
I think that like once that got on Netflix, people found it. But it brings up a point I wanted to make, which is I think that when the source material is epic and memorable, then it like can reignite it. Whereas if the source material is something that we just liked because we were kids,
Yeah.
it you know what I'm saying? Like I love Transformers. How many fucking times have I referenced Transformers, right? I consider that movie to be epic, the cartoon movie, but I know a lot of people wouldn't consider that. Star Wars, people still watch the original trilogy and still see it that it's great.
Yeah.
So like it kind of stays around. He-Man, this is kind of the sad part. I feel like He-Man itself, we love He-Man because we grew up with it, but the source material is not as like strong
No, I
as
agree. I think it gets better. It's getting better. Like I
right,
said,
right,
the new She-Ra is the best thing in the entire franchise,
right,
which
right,
proves that, I mean, there's something cool about that too. Like it begins as like these colorful characters, and that's all they are, is just colorful, interesting images, and then artists come along and make them something great.
right, right.
Thinking about your question before, this isn't a movie, but you could make the argument that Netflix's Wednesday reignited an interest in the Addams Family, where I think easily the Addams Family could have just completely died and been forgotten in pop culture.
That is an excellent, excellent point. But I mean, to go along with that, the Addams Family show was unique and kind of memorable. But it's really those movies by the guy who did Men in Black, right? The Barry Sonnenfeld
Yeah.
movies. Like those movies, I think are strong movies, so they have kind of lingered as well,
But
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 that's a
that's also an example of kind of what we're talking about, right? The Addams Family is a comic. It's not a comic strip because they're one panel comics in New Yorker magazine, and then it's kind of a corny sitcom. And then in the '90s, they make these amazing movies out of it.
right.
Right? They
Right.
like. I'm really interested in this other idea that I've kind of keep going back to of like some things actually grow and get better.
Yeah, but it's because here's the thing, Mike, is I think that it has room to grow. It has room to dream. Like like it. He-Man has room to grow. Does Star Wars have room to grow? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
when you see new Star Wars things, more often than not, it's a disappointment because it's not as good as the original stuff. But with He-Man, it's superior to the original stuff.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. So going back to the movie, I think it has to look. It does have to hit those nostalgia buttons, right? It does have to, and they're doing that a lot with the style. Like it looks like Snake Mountain looks like Snake Mountain. Castle Grayskull looks really good. A lot of the Skeletor. I just said he looks kind of AI, but what I mean by that is it looks like he looks almost exactly like the toy. Like it all looks very, especially compared to the original movie, very, very faithful to the original designs. Um, on top of that, I really hope they add more. I hope because guess what? He-Man himself is not a great character. Like, there's not a lot of depth to it. Like, starting off with him as a human on Earth, it could actually be good. Like, we could, like,
Yep.
make him a very cool character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you mentioned before, like a post-credit scene in this potential movie with like a reference to She-Ra, like the He-Man cartoon, the Netflix one. When it ended, there was a post-credit scene, or I don't. Maybe it wasn't post-credits, maybe it was before the credits, but like where there is some sort of Horde soldier and she takes off her helmet. You don't
Yeah.
see her, but you assume that that's Adora too. So
Yeah.
if they were to do that'd be freaking great in this movie.
There's supposed to be Amazon MGM, besides making this He-Man movie, is making a live-action She-Ra series, and they're
Oh shit!
saying that it's probably going to be that She-Ra.
Oh,
Like,
that's cool.
they like, I don't know how far they could really stretch it. Everybody wants a cinematic universe now, but they're
Yeah.
going to take He-Man and She-Ra and like, yeah. So there's room to grow, absolutely. Like especially if you're basically starting with like good feelings, right? I mean, like that's the thing. Like when you go back and see this stuff, I feel like you have to be honest with yourself about like what works and what doesn't.
Yes.
You
Yes. You,
know,
you take the image of Skeletor and Hordak. I'm sorry, guys. Our previous recording. Hopefully, and you bring them together and you just let it grow.
You need the sorceress. She lives the art life.
Oh no!
Uh,
You know who's fucking missing in this movie too? Evil-Lyn, right? You got
oh,
Beastman shows up, right?
well, I haven't said this. The biggest sin of this movie is it's an hour before Skeletor comes into it.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, when he showed up, I was like, "There's my boy!" I was so
Because
happy
he's
to see him.
interesting. He's funny and weird. His weird insults about people. You royal
Right,
boob. Like he's
right,
great. Like it takes way too long for him to come into the story.
right. Yeah, but then and then he's gone. He like leaves
Yeah,
before the
yeah,
end too. It's not a big final battle or anything. Yeah,
yeah. But yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm super looking forward to the movie. I'm super looking forward to the new toys. So, I hope it's okay. I have I have low bar, like if I don't hate it, I'm happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the last Ghostbusters movie was not very good, but like it didn't hurt me. I was like, all right, it's Ghostbusters doing shit, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
Fine with that.
I think you probably have like somebody planned to be on with you, or you might do one of those things where it's just you talking about it. But I would love to have you on Comic Books Transformed when that movie comes out. We can talk about it.
Absolutely. That'd be great. That'd be great. All right. So, we could talk about Master Universe all day.
Good.
I've been here with Peter Marsh. He has 2 podcasts of his own, Comic Books Transformed, which deals with adaptations of comic books and, how comic books have really come into pop culture the last, 20 years. And also the Lassercast, which is a horror movie podcast. And
Yes.
how are those going?
They're going good. I mean, we would definitely love some more viewers or listeners. We're available on Spotify, and then we're also on YouTube. So you guys can definitely check us out. I'm with my friend Brian, and we really love X-Men and Batman. We are always referencing those things. Like, I know that you guys that listen to Mike's show, you love Batman and Superman and stuff. Like, come on over. We've covered He-Man on that channel.
Yeah.
And on Pop Culture Man Children, you guys have obviously talked about horror movies many times. Like, Danny and I have a good time as well. We just talked about Twin Peaks on the last recording I did on Pop Culture Man Children. Danny and I are finishing up Twin Peaks: The Return. So if you like listening to my voice on this, go over and check out our review of Twin Peaks: The Return. If you enjoyed this conversation, I suggest check it out my other channels.
Perfect. This has been PCMC, Pop Culture Man Children. We come out every Wednesday. This is your one-stop shop for non-toxic fandom. Non-toxic fandom means that we are still critical, and when something's not good, we'll say it, and we'll talk about how we can make it better. But we don't hate things because there are woke people in it, or there are women in it, or we don't start harassment campaigns on Twitter against a black actor that's cast to play a role that had always been white. Non-toxic fandom.
Yes, and I thoroughly enjoy being on here.
We end every episode of PCMC by saying,
go bye-bye.